House to Home, presented by Remax Diamond Realty.
Hello and half a day, everybody. You know, in the 6 years that Gina, Liz, and I have been doing this wonderful segment, which we love bringing to you guys so very much, 6 years strong now, you know, the best performing interview I've ever done with these two wonderful ladies, check it out on YouTube. It's a segment called Do Dogs Make Good Tenants? I'm not kidding. Like, the thing's got over like 75,000 views just because the topic is so random. But ladies, there is some fact to this, because if you are renting, or if you I guess if you own some sort of property and everything like that, what should happen if a tenant or someone living in, you know, like a house, even if they're temporarily on lease, whatever, if they have to have legal use of an animal? And there are different kinds, right, Liz?
Yeah, they refer to them as service, let's say service animals. For example, if you were blind and need the aid of a service animals have been trained to perform a specific duty. Like they can be trained to lead a blind person around, or they can tell if you're having an attack of some sort, an emotional attack.
Yeah.
So service animals are pretty much first, they're there to help you with a specific purpose, and they're trained for that.
There's also service animals that are for like people suffering from PTSD, right?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
those are the emotional support animals.
That's another kind. Okay.
So in terms of someone coming to you as a landlord, you can't deny them. I mean, there's specific things that if you're living in a fourplex, you happen to live in one and you're renting the others, at that point you could say, no, we can't allow an animal in this unit. But I think there's a thing where they say you cannot say it's an animal. If they're a service, they're considered like they're humans. You can't, right, Gina? They're saying that if they're a service animal, they're actually, when I'm renting from you and I have a service animal, you can't charge a pet deposit.
So HUD has guidelines that are now, the guidelines are there to regulate and guide tenants as well as
landlords.
Yeah, these guidelines, like the Fair Housing Act, these guidelines come out of HUD, and they basically are there to give us our, our protocol on what landlords are allowed to do and what tenants are allowed to do. Of course, it kind of gives guidance on both sides. You know, a service animal to me is a little different from a emotional support animal, because a service animal, I think you can very easily identify what the animal is there, what the service is. Like, for instance, Liz pointed out, if I were blind and I needed the aid of a service animal to get me around and about, that's very clear cut. Emotional support animals, however, are a little bit more, I mean, it's very hard to distinguish what that particular emotional support animal is there to provide. And we're not, as landlords, you're not allowed, one of the guidelines is you're not allowed to ask, well, what's your ailment? Why do you need a service support, emotional support animal?
Is it fair to say that, obviously this isn't true with every single case, but I think I've seen before that certain service animals will actually be, like, they might have like a collar or something like that identifies them as such. But you're right. I mean, that you're not required to. You can't.
That's a service animal,
right? You don't have to disclose them.
Yeah, we're talking about emotional support animals. A service animal, they're specially trained, and they, they're very easy to identify.
Yeah, but a service animal does not necessarily have to have a special collar or a vest. They don't have to have that. So as Gina puts it, yes, there are requirements for that. So in terms of what can a landlord do and ask, if you're told that. Now, here's what's happening. Gina and I have seen this. A complex says no pets, but a tenant has a pet. So they try to find different ways to to allow for the landlord to accept the pet. So, emotional support, you have to go to a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist and get some certification that you need an emotional support. As a landlord, you cannot ask what your issue is. However, they can say, hey, this is authorized. I've got a letter that supports my need for this pet.
But you
Now,
can see how that would be kind of weird now, because if you're not required to disclose exactly why, because you may be suffering from, again, PTSD, you may have anxiety attacks, you may be the victim of some sort of crime, and that animal actually is your protector and helps you. And now you've got all your neighbors saying, hey, I thought this was like a pet-free environment. How come this guy's so special? And and then it just gets kind of awkward.
Yeah, but with Gina and I, we've had people who they're not emotional support. There was no need for that terminology, but sometimes they try to get in a location that does not require a pet.
Right.
So there are people who try to slide through, right, Gina?
But so here's a distinction. An emotional support animal, and by the way, they say animal because it could be anything. And the way the guideline reads is that animal is there to alleviate one of my symptoms. So let's say I have anxiety, and we all know anxiety we are all suffering from some form of anxiety right now with the situation on island and off island and in the world, generally speaking.
Okay, calm down, Gino. We don't want you to get too anxious now.
I can honestly say we're all suffering from anxiety.
Sure.
So let's say I decided that I needed to take my cat around with me, because my cat really does, when my cat is around and I'm able to hold my cat, it can alleviate some anxiety that I might feel, and it enables me to go about and do my thing. So I can go online, and there is a government agency that I can go online and I could register my cat as my support animal. Mm-hmm. And any animal, frankly, it says that it says that the only time that it could be denied is if that animal is going to cause a threat to the people around you or the building. Like, for instance, if I had an elephant or a horse, that could cause some harm to the building or people around me. So the landlord is able to deny. But once I register my animal as an emotional support animal, it doesn't necessarily mean I have the right to take my cat anywhere I please. Like, I may not be able to take that cat around. The next step is a doctor has to support by writing a testimony. It could be a doctor, a psychologist, a therapist. They have to actually give me a letter that certifies, and they sign it saying that yes, this, Gina needs this emotional support cat. If she didn't have it, she'd be ripping people apart right now. And so I would say, I really need it.
And is that documentation that has to be renewed every, like, a certain interval? Like, you have to do it every year, every 2 years and everything? And is this considered like a temporary arrangement?
No, I mean, if they're stating that there is this condition, but here's the catch. If you're a medical doctor and you're not trained, and we've seen that, and you're not trained as a therapist, and you sign this, so many doctors are hesitant to put something in writing because it's not within their field. However, if we do get something, we can't deny them, but the times when we can deny is, let's say the animal growls at people, or the animal is a threat in the complex, and they're threatening kids or threatening other tenants, then that could be a way for the complex management to say, hey, we're gonna remove this animal because the threat to other tenants in the building. So there are ways to evict the pet, or not the pet, the animal. There's a way to evict them.
So you could actually have your animal companion, a member of another species in the animal kingdom, actually evicted because this, it's causing a nuisance to other tenants in there. God, that's crazy.
Absolutely. And Jace, as a landlord, if you have somebody who's applying to live in your unit, and they've given you this certificate saying they have an emotional support animal, you don't have the right to talk to that person's therapist or doctor,
Right.
but you have the right to ask to see the letter that certifies that you're entitled to have
There
the
you go.
emotional
Okay.
support animal. You do have the right to say, may I see that letter? But the law's pretty clear. There are some questions you're not allowed to ask. Like, for instance, you can't ask me if I'm under any kind of drug rehabilitation.
Mhm.
You can't ask me how long I've been seeing my therapist. You can't ask me what my issues are. Those are private and confidential. But you can ask me to see the letter. And I'm, I don't think it's unreasonable if the letter's from 10 years ago. I don't think it's unreasonable to say, have you had this letter updated? Because obviously, if you're continuously seeing a therapist, you should have a letter, updated. But I guess that's between the landlord and the tenant. If I got a letter from 10 years
Right.
ago, and I think my friends could see that letter and say, oh yeah, she really, really needs her emotional support animal. Please don't take
Really?
that away from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, we got to go. I'm assuming like everybody can go to HUD and look up HUD online for more information. Okay, so me and my pet elephant that I've got over here are gonna go ahead. Babar, you ready to go? Okay, we're done with the segment. So ladies, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jace.
All right, me and Babar are gonna go grab some peanuts and everything. Thank you. Bye, ladies. Thank you guys for watching. Bye-bye.